Do you have a story of like an artist where there's no plan in place and then you've just seen complete chaos?
Yeah, actually, there's one I'm very close to. There's a artist slash songwriter producer, great guy. He unfortunately didn't have his stuff together at all. He has multiple kids. He was not married. When he passed away, all his stuff is in chaos because there's no living trust. He had no life insurance. Matter of fact, I paid for his funeral.
Is the fear of it being a lack of access for the culture and the industry in itself when it comes to trust, wills, life insurance, like, do you think they just don't have access to it, or is it more of an educational thing?
I'm gonna say it's a little bit of both. I'm gonna lean heavier on education.
Music, I guess, in a sense for you, this is like a ministry for you to be able to pour into people.
100%.
And the legacy is the mission.
Yeah.
And building legacy beyond the boardroom takes these type of conversations to actually happen.
Create layers of the protection, and you get massive, beautiful write-offs if you do it that way, right? I would set that up so that way when you take your catalog and put it in those trusts, let that build, then you go and get what's called a premium finance life insurance. Do not get a term. Whole life is cool, but premium finance for entertainers is the most, or athletes, that's the one I would recommend.
There's a haunting truth in the music industry. Prince died with a $150 million empire, but with no will. 6 years of legal war followed right behind that. Aretha Franklin left behind 3 handwritten wills and nothing formal. Her family fought in court for years. Michael Jackson, he had a will and a trust, but never moved his assets into the trust, which resulted in probate, delays, and disputes that are actually still going on today. These are icons, legends. If it can happen to them, it can happen to any creative. And the truth is, musicians die nearly twice as often as their peers, not because of a lack of talent and not because of a lack of failure, but it's because they never thought legacy applied to them. Today's guest has worked with the best, from Beyonce, Snoop Dogg, Bruno Mars, her, and Kendrick Lamar. He's a 7-time Grammy award-winning music producer and publisher who understands both the brilliance of artistry and the chaos that follows when it's unprotected. Jovan Dawkins isn't just here to talk hits, he's here to talk legacy. Because in the music business, the real encore is what happens after the final verse. This is Legacy Talk, the man you must become, the final verse. What happens when musicians die without a plan? What's going on, brother? How you doing?
Good, man. Happy to be here.
Man, I am grateful and I'm happy to have you here. I know that we talked briefly before this and we kind of started to get into the nitty gritty and the meat of things, which was, I was like, man, we gotta save this because this is good information. And it's a lot of knowledge and stuff that I'm learning just from a different perspective. And when we started this whole podcast, it was about us preparing men to become the man they need to become to be able to stand in the gap or stand in the fire when that time does present. And I started to realize really quickly that it just wasn't agnostic to just normal people. There's business people, there's creatives, there's people across the board that prepare all different type of ways, which even had brought me to a thought when it came to, just police officers and military people. I mean, people across the board. So I'm excited to have this conversation with you and to really just dive into just the whole thought process behind creatives. So once again, thank you. I appreciate you joining me.
Of course, man. Yeah, appreciate the opportunity.
Awesome. So, okay. So you've seen what happens when estates go sideways. As I mentioned, Prince, Aretha Franklin, MJ. Why do you think so many creatives avoid like those type of conversations?
Well, a lot of it is, I can answer in a lot of different ways, but a lot of it is lack of knowledge. But I'm going to go deeper though. For some creatives, meaning I'm going to say artists when I say creatives, a lot of artists, even the ones that do get the education or they do get the right team that, break stuff down to them, shows them how to really, put their stuff together for real. A lot of them have the mindset of not caring enough. Right. So I would love to just say, oh, it's lack of knowledge and just go home. But it's not that simple, because there's some people that have the knowledge. But as artists, all they want to do is be creative all day. They want to write songs. They want to perform them, sing them. They do not want to plan nothing. They want to live in the moment. And unfortunately, the artist lifestyle promotes that. It promotes the moment. Right. I'm hot right now, today. Yeah. Right. So I'm going to milk this, that those two things always, I see it every week, multiple times a week in my life, unfortunately. So some is just lack of knowledge, and some that have the knowledge, they don't actually take the time to go execute what those things are. Or let me go a little deeper. Some people are so used to having a team that they won't learn nothing for themselves. They're just solely depending on whoever this management team is or whoever this team is. And the thing that I don't like about the music and the media business, but especially the music business, is that there is a very small group of people that actually know this business from A to Z. It's less. I don't think consumers have any idea of how small that is. Some people may see the term entertainment attorney and just say, oh, that guy or that woman has all this knowledge. You'll be surprised. There's tons of attorneys that actually don't really know this business from top to bottom. Also because it changes so much, right? So,
and would you say that when it comes to just attorneys and management, they're probably not really focused on the legacy after the person lives versus them just focusing on what's the now and how,
mm-hmm.
And how they benefit from the now.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah. I would say, I'm not saying all of them, but yeah, there's a good amount that they live in the moment too. Yeah.
Yeah. And also too, just thinking about, as I was mentioning, just IP, royalties, like music rights transfer, like how many of those conversations are even had before an artist actually looks at their contract, where they're like, hey, so, and I think also too, maybe it has a bit to do with, I don't know, it could be ego, it could be ignorance, but not even asking the question, I'm about to sign this contract. What IP is mine? How's my royalty structure set up? How do my music rights transfer over after I pass? Do any of those conversations actually, or questions actually, come up when an artist is looking to sign a contract?
Most of the time, no. I'm going to say no. It does sometimes. It depends on who you're dealing with. I always want to give credit to the people that do that. I know some colleagues of mine that they actually take the time to teach an artist some stuff, because that's how I am. I'm like that naturally because I'm a teacher. But everyone doesn't do that. I mean, this business was built around, hey, if you don't know, it ain't my job to educate you.
Yeah.
That's how this business was built, even back in the 40s.
Sure.
It was built that way, right? So unfortunately, no, it does not happen on a regular basis. It's all about the now. Even from a contractual standpoint, if you sign a record deal, especially back in the day when the record deals were structured with a lot of money around it, not like how it is now, as an artist, you only cared about the last page. That's it. Yeah. The part that says the advance and the zeros. That's all you cared about.
Yeah, I was actually just watching something yesterday, and an artist from Dreamville was just talking about how J. Cole ended his distribution deal, I guess, with Universal. And he was like, look, when I signed this deal, this was, 10 years ago or longer. He was like, this is before Apple Music and 360. Like
Yeah,
this was
right,
just, I was trying to just get on
right.
and not understanding what I signed when it actually came back around, thankfully, J. Cole was like, no, let them eat. And we don't have to recoup that. Let them eat, because the deal that they were in probably was atrocious. But I think that even in those situations, as you were just talking about, they're not thinking about, especially artists that have kids and families, and the emotional aspect of what happens to all of those assets once they pass. Like, their families having to deal with that. And when it comes to like transferring rights in music and IP and royalties and all of that, for people like myself and maybe artists that don't know, like, what happens to all of that? And is there a way for them to put some type of structure around to protect that, so when they do pass, that can get transferred over to their family, or their family at least have some type of involvement in it?
Yeah, I mean, and it also depends on what it is, because the thing about music, there's a lot of streams of income in music, tons. The average person doesn't even know all those streams. There's actually 7 streams of royalty income per copyright. So many people don't even know that. The average person only knows about 2, maybe 3. The average person, the most I've ever heard the average artist, I'm going to go a little deeper. I'm even going to say even A&Rs and executives at labels, some of them don't even know all 7. They only know 4 max on average. So the problem is, if you don't know all 7, you're not getting all 7 most of the time. So it also depends on what you have. So, like, for example, if you were an artist and you sign a record deal, let's say I'm an artist and Jason, you are the record label. Okay. So if you sign me, one thing that's automatic is you're going to own 100% of my masters. That's standard. I'm not going to get any percentage of that part of it. Then you have another pool that's called the artist royalty. Okay. There's 100% pie. So as an artist, if I'm signing a traditional artist deal, I'm somewhere on the low end at 7% artist royalty. On the high end, on average, 15 to 16. And then maybe if we get past a certain portion of the contract, it jumps up to 20% if I renew or whatever, right? Average, you're not getting past 20 on a traditional record deal, unless you're Beyonce or Drake. Yeah. You know, that gets higher. But that's like the average, right? So now, here's the thing. Let's say I have 15% of an artist royalty. Well, that 15% doesn't matter until a certain point, because those artist royalties that come in at a 15% rate, let's say the label invested $5 million into my project. Well, not only do they have to recoup the $5 million, the label, you, Jason, would have to profit past a certain point before that 15% even starts applying and starts paying out.
Yeah.
That part is misconstrued all the time. I hear artists explain that wrong on social media so often. They say, oh yeah, once I'm recouped, then my 15. No, that's not how it works. No.
Yeah.
If Jason put in $5 million until he gets to 7 million, then your 15% kicks in. And if he never gets to that point, then that debt rolls over to the next project. And that's why a lot of people never really get out of the deals. They just keep getting rolled into debt over and over and over again. So let's just say you actually do get past that point. Well, now that 15% artist royalty could technically go into your living trust. That could. Yeah. That artist royalty is for artists, but it has nothing to do with being a songwriter and producer. So if you are a songwriter and producer, traditionally speaking, your publishing and royalties as a songwriter does not apply to your record deal, traditionally speaking. I understand people can negotiate different stuff, but that's a separate ordeal. That's a separate estate, for lack of better words. So Jovan the artist versus Jovan the writer producer is 2 different people and revenue streams. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm going just to throw some monkey wrenches at you, because I think there is a way to just merge both of these worlds into each other, and that's just by me asking the questions that I know that most artists and most people don't know to ask.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it's possible or not. It's just the way that my brain thinks when it comes to creating infrastructure and solving problems. So before they sign a contract, is there a way for the contract to be set up where maybe their likeness is owned a percentage by their trust and then a percentage by them? So therefore, any money that they do see, a portion of that automatically goes into their trust, and then the other portion goes to them, that it's a revocable trust. So, and even if they made it an irrevocable trust, so they just couldn't touch it, and it was just actually structured. So therefore, all of that money is being put aside, and they have that infrastructure set up before they even go into an actual deal. So if their royalties, once they do hit that point, they already know a percentage of my royalties are already going into this trust, and then I get the rest to do whatever it is that I do. Is something like that even possible for artists?
Not in an artist deal, no. If you do a joint venture deal or a distribution deal, then yes, because at that point you are a company now. You are not. This is not a likeness thing anymore, right? If I sign as an artist directly to a label, you are going to own my likeness for whatever period of time with terms and deliverables, right? But if I do a joint venture deal with Universal, for example, let's say in order to do this project, the marketing budget is $2 million, but I'm going to bring $1 million of that to the table out of my own pocket. Universal, you put in $1.5 million or whatever, plus your resources. Well, now that means my C Corp or S Corp is now doing business with Universal. Then I could do all the things you're talking about as far as the living trust and U.S. bot trust, foreign grantors trust. I can do all that because I'm a business now. You're not owning my likeness. Yeah.
Okay. So then what if, I know because my brain is going and before I move on. So what if I'm an artist and I say, hey, Jovan, Brown Manor Legacy Holdings actually owns my likeness, and they
Before you sign a deal?
Before I sign a deal.
Okay.
And
Okay.
they have an IP company, and all of my IP, including my likeness, it's all trademarked and copywritten and owned by them. So when I sign this deal, I can sign the deal, but I'm having to license my likeness to you that you won't own. But we can structure a licensing deal for my likeness with the trust because they actually own my likeness. Is something like that possible?
Now, once again, that is possible if you're doing a joint venture deal or if you're doing a distribution deal, because you're moving in a form of either partial ownership or full ownership. Because so for example, if I'm an independent artist / label, when I say label, that means it's only for me. I'm not signing nobody else. Let's say I have my own C Corp and it's for me, right? If I go get a distribution deal, by default, I own 100% of the masters. The distributor does not. The distributor is just going to get a small fee for collecting the funds. So let's say it's an 80-20 split. They get 20, I get 80, or I get 90, they get 10, whatever that is. I can do all the things you just said because I'm coming in with a form of ownership. Or in a JV deal, we're splitting ownership. We're splitting let's say it's a 50-50 split. I own 50% of the artist royalty versus 15% on a traditional artist deal. And I own half of the masters, right? So then everything you're talking about, I can do if I'm structuring it that way. But if we're talking traditional artist deal direct, unfortunately, it's not likely that a major label is going to agree to any of those loopholes. Now, I agree with it though. That to me, that makes perfect logical sense. But the majors, I'm about 98% sure no one's doing it as a major, unfortunately.
Yeah. And I think that, as I'm sure you know, money talks. And if a person is bringing an equitable stake to the deal, it makes either side more advantageous to look at different terms when it comes to actually doing a deal, which once again, it goes back importance of understanding the business of the business, because when you don't understand the business, you actually are not hurting yourself, but you're hurting your family, even in the long term. So
Right.
I think that, switching gears and talking about the emotional and cultural resistance in just the artist world and or the music business, and just even outside of that. Like there's a myth, especially, in music, that says that, most people think that you're too young to plan for death. But in reality, creatives die at nearly a twice or faster rate than other musicians, as we've seen with all of these young artists. Yeah, that are dying. We were talking about the Mac Millers and the Pop Smokes, and like even from just the cultural way of them just not understanding the life insurance aspect of having just life insurance, because we talked about this, and I know that labels put life insurance on artists all the time. And
without you knowing about it.
Yeah. And because they have a vested interest, through their business. So they're able to do that. And the thing is, even if an artist, and this is just for artists that are watching, like you can talk to a life insurance agent and you can actually set up a life insurance plan, and even the deal and the money that you get, you can actually front load your life insurance policy so that you don't have to make any payments at all. Or you can actually just structure it where a portion of your payments come out and they just pay that policy up. Because at the end of the day, if something does happen to you, rest assured that the company is going to recoup their money, and they're going to make sure that they are solvent regardless of, because it's business and it's not personal, it's just business. And I think that artists don't think about needing life insurance because they think it only pertains to if they have a family or if they have, kids or so forth. But I just think it's so important for them to just have that infrastructure in place to, protect themselves. So
for sure.
And so do you think, is the fear of it being a lack of access for the culture and the industry in itself when it comes to trust, wills, life insurance, like, do you think they just don't have access to it, or is it more of a educational thing?
I'm gonna say it's a little bit of both. I'm gonna lean heavier on education. I mean, every time I'm in a room with somebody, and even if it's not even an educational day, right? I could just be in a studio session. Someone brings up a comment. I say a term, and an artist will go, "What's that? What does that mean?" And then it's something they don't know nothing about. And then I just willingly give them that information. And they're like, dude, I need to check into that. I never even heard of that. I didn't know what that is. You know what I'm saying? So, but yeah, it's a mixture of both. Also, too, just even going back to the life insurance thing, for African Americans, the average African American family is only taught term insurance anyway. All they know is term.
Yeah.
They might have heard a whole life, but they don't know what that actually is. They don't know what premium finance insurance is. These are things, they were taught.
Scam.
Yeah. All they were taught is, hey, get this term life insurance policy. So that way, if you die, they'll pay for the casket, the funeral, all the basic stuff, pay for that, the flowers, and then maybe leave $20,000 for little junior. You know what I'm saying? Like that's all. That's what most African American families, especially these artists that most of them came from nothing. And then they make it and make all these millions of dollars. There's that disconnect, right? So
because I think that, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but artists are groomed to focus on the spotlight,
correct,
and not the fine print.
100%, right.
That's where they are taught to just really focus on that, and many artists don't trust, let alone the system that they're in, but systems historically, because of the exploitation of labels when it comes to publishing deals and so forth. So for them to even ask those questions, they're not going to think that they're getting the right information or they're protecting their interests because of historically of how that actually has all kind of worked out when you see all these artists disgruntled in the media.
Right. Exactly. I mean, I'm going to throw this in there too. Another problem that I see, and I actually teach this in my master classes all the time. I have yet to see, I'm not saying nobody's teaching this, but what I'm about to say to you, which I've never said publicly before on a platform, I never see anybody teach this. There is a major issue in the music business, media and film and television as well, but I'm going to target music for a moment. There is a major disconnect on how to pick your team. No one really teaches that publicly, right? So, like, for example, I taught this in a master class recently. If I had $1 for every time an artist went and got an entertainment attorney, but they have, so, because that's what they're taught. Okay, I go get an entertainment attorney. Let me explain to you what entertainment attorney really means. A general entertainment attorney means that you have a person that studied a little bit of this, a little bit of that, a little bit of. They don't specialize in anything,
Yeah.
right? But the truth is, you actually, I know it costs more money, but it pays off in the long run, especially if you're going to really be in this business with a legacy, right? Is you have to get attorneys that specialize in a particular area. There are attorneys in this business where what they're really strong at is record deals, distribution deals. That's it. Then you have attorneys that their bread and butter is music publishing specifically. That's what they do. They deal with publishing deals and even maybe catalog acquisition deals. And even some music publishing attorneys are not very vast in catalog deals. That the catalog business is actually not the same thing as doing representing a songwriter in a pub deal, right? So you have to, and you have, just like same thing for film. You got to get your film attorneys, right? You're you know what I'm saying? Like, you have to separate it, and that's not really taught, unfortunately.
Absolutely. I think, and I learned that, through the grace of God, 10 years ago, where when I was starting the tech business, corporate attorney is not going to be the same as, even, so you can have a corporate attorney, but then you can actually have a contract attorney as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
And because a corporate attorney is good for understanding the infrastructure of how the corporation needs to be set up. But then when it comes to actually looking at contracts and doing deals, you want somebody that specifically specializes in contracts. But the same thing is, my corporate attorney is not the same as my real estate attorney. My real estate attorney is not the same as my IP attorney.
That's right.
My real estate attorney here in the States is not the same as my real estate attorney in Mexico.
That's right.
There's all different attorneys, and yes, it does cost more, but I've learned the hard way of not having the differentiation in domain expertise in each one of those fields, because it's cost me more in the long term. So,
oh yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah.
I had to learn. It was an expensive experience, but when I tell you, after I went through it and I got to see behind the curtain more, I started educating as many people as I can.
Sure.
Because I'm like, dude, because we were all a lot of us were taught the same stuff in passing. Entertainment attorney. But then when I started becoming friends with all the top music and licensing and film attorneys, and we all became friends, and I started seeing behind the curtain. I even, believe it or not, I even get trained. I'm not trained. I'm sorry. I've even been hired to train attorneys in music licensing specifically, because a lot of music publishing or music attorneys in general don't understand streaming that well, because it's still relatively new. So yeah, I've privately been hired to do these things for them to, and when there's nothing to be ashamed about. You should educate yourself. Just like if there's things I don't really know, I'm willing to come out my pocket and pay for master classes in different fields that I'm not an expert in, for lack of better words, right? So yeah, that part alone would change a lot of careers. And it goes down to management as well. Understanding how to pick management and how that manager-artist relationship is supposed to work. That is a thing within itself as well. There's so many artists, I won't say their names on here, but there's so many artists, their careers are stuck because of picking wrong management. You got a manager operating in all of these things that they're not seasoned in at all, have no major credentials in by no means. Then you got one attorney doing everything, and he or she is not versed in those particular things, right? These are the real conversations that have to happen in order for things to change. You got to separate those entities and have the right people handle what needs to be handled, or you're going to be stuck, unfortunately.
No, that's good. That's good. So, what would you say to a 21-year-old just starting to blow up who thinks this is a problem for them later?
A 21-year-old artist, right?
Artist who thinks like, I don't need to worry about wills, life insurance, trusts. Like that's I'm 21.
Right.
I got time for all of that.
Right.
What advice would you give them if they were listening to this right now?
The advice I would give that 21-year-old artist is, for one, I would say, wait, hold on, let me give the scenario. Is this artist is popping already, or are they grinding to get there?
Oh, they're popping.
Oh, they popping. Okay. That's even easier.
So we'll do their popping, and then we'll say grinding to get there. We'll do both.
Yeah, okay. So if they're popping, hopefully, okay, if they're popping, for one, I would say do not sign a record deal. Let's start there. That's step number one. If you got popping independently, which, truth be told, in today's time, you have to be. There is no such thing as, oh, I'm just talented and I just came off the street and I gotta, this ain't mid 2000s. Them days have been gone since 07, 08. That's over. Yeah. You have to now prove that you have a pipeline before you even get a major record deal now. Okay. So let's say that is the case. You already own your masters. You're 21 years old. You've sold millions of records at this point. Stay independent. Keep paying the mainstream marketing people you got, the distribution thing, even though all them major zeros is coming in your face or whatever to sign a deal. I would say do not do that, because if you already have an album that has sold millions of records, if a major label is trying to sign you, you have to forfeit your master ownership of the previous record. You have to give that to them, right? So now your leverage is now it's being respected because they got to pay for that. They can't offer you the same numbers and terms, you know what I'm saying? Because you have an asset. You've proven that your platform works, and you spent the money, you put the time in, it worked, right? So do not sign a traditional record deal on that point. Don't go no past the JV deal. Either do a distro deal or a JV deal, so that way you're still owning something. Then what I would do too is, on top of that, especially if you are a songwriter or a producer or both, what I would do is that do not jump and sign the pub deal after your first couple of hit songs. I would wait it out, stack the deck up, and then go get a publishing deal as a songwriter and producer separately, because that is a separate piece of revenue. I would work it that way. Also, I would go set up a living trust, a revocable and irrevocable. Go set up what's called a U.S. bot trust, which is a business trust. So that way your business is, attached to that. Then I would also get a foreign grantors trust. And then I would get a master's trust. So that's 5 right there. Right. And so what I would do is, whatever your C Corp, I'm just going to say C Corp or S Corp. I'm never going to tell nobody to get no LLC because of all the changes. That it's not the same protection in corporate bill anymore. But if you have a C Corp, you never own your C Corp directly. If you have a C Corp, you get your holding company. Your holding company owns the interest to your C Corp. And then the holding company is owned by your U.S. bot trust. U.S. bot trust beneficiary is, I'm sorry, other way around. U.S. bot trust filed with a foreign grantors trust, which is attached to your living trust. Create layers of the protection, and you get massive, beautiful write-offs if you do it that way, right? I would set that up so that way when you take your catalog and put it in those trusts now. Let that build. Then you go and get what's called a premium finance life insurance. Do not get a term. Whole life is cool, but premium finance is for entertainers, is the or athletes. That's the one I would recommend.
Could you break that down a little bit more? What a premium finance life insurance policy is?
A premium finance life insurance has a thing where, especially for people that have intellectual property that is worth something, it's good to go get what's called a premium finance life insurance policy. And what that does is that you go get that life insurance policy with a policy holder, and then they do a deal with a financial group like a Goldman Sachs or whoever that may be. And they will actually pay 100% for your life insurance. And let's say it's a 15-year term. So they're going to pay on it for 15 years. Some have 10, some have 12, but they pay on it for 15 years for you. Nothing's coming out of your pocket. And what they're going to do is they're going to go to what's called your balance sheet which would have your catalog in there, your assets in there. And they're going to get what's called an SBLC. Okay. Standby letter of credit. So let's say your catalog is worth about 20 million. Let's say they take 5 million of that, wrap it into an SBLC. And then now once they're done paying off your life insurance policy, what's going to happen is that now you have all of this liquid money. Let's just say it's $15 million liquid that you have access to pull the whole thing out. You can use it as a pension. You can take out $1 million a year, $2 million a year, whatever the case is. And then your death benefit grows. So let's say your death benefit is $50 million. So if you pass away, your family gets $50 million tax-free, guaranteed, no ifs, ands, or buts. Plus, you also get to live off of that 15 to 20 mil, whatever it may be, in liquid cash, from you doing that. And that's all you're doing is taking your assets and making it work for you. Now, what I just broke down in a short form, if this was out there publicly, people's eyebrows would be up like, I never heard of that. I didn't even know that was an option. Yeah. Now, there's a lot of Caucasian artists that are aware. Not all of them, but there's a good amount of them that actually got it together like that. So that's the short version of what I would say. Another thing too, let's say the artist decides to sign an artist deal. Let's say they go there, right? If you do sign an artist deal, only make them incorporate your name as a C Corp. Your social is not involved. Only tax ID numbers moving forward. If you're going to go that route. If them zeros are just getting too aggressive for you, like, oh my gosh, I got to take this deal, then do not sign directly. Sign make your name a C Corp or an S Corp and sign under that entity name that's attached to your name, but not directly.
Sure. That's awesome. No, that's good. And then by doing that, you can then go back to the first part of the conversation we were having about really setting up the infrastructure in a way that is going to create the legacy for your family. Right. Have you seen, or can you tell me maybe a story when you've seen people have no plan in place? Do you have a story of like an artist where there's no plan in place and then you've just seen complete chaos?
Yeah, actually, there's one I'm very close to. There's a artist / songwriter producer, great guy. He unfortunately didn't have his stuff together at all. He has multiple kids. He was not married. There were things that were taught to him, but the fast life really took over. It really took over. And so when he passed away, all his stuff is in chaos because there's no living trust. He had no life insurance at all. There was no, matter of fact, I paid for his funeral actually. And, yeah, I'm trying to even, there's so many things to go over. Like, I mean, it's just, he had just got, oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was going to say, what was the state of his family behind the scenes? Because most people don't understand the chaos that comes from not having the conversations. What was the sentiment and narrative and feeling of the family, and what was going on behind them, between them when all of this happened?
To my knowledge, if there were arguments, I wasn't privy to them. I mean, those could have happened, but I know that there was a lot of speculation going on. Like, hey, where's this? Oh, he didn't have this, and oh, he didn't. Because there's certain people, there's certain folks in the family that have been successful in their own right in other businesses that have their stuff together, and they're like, how come so and so didn't have, this together? And so I know that there was some kind of pushback and a lot of issues there. I know that, unfortunately his kids have gotten nothing really. They haven't gotten anything just because stuff just was not set up right. And it's so unfortunate that it worked out the way. And I mean, I know a whole different circumstance where this other person made crazy amounts of money but once again, had nothing set up properly. And so the label and the publishing house didn't even know where to send money to. Like they had no clue. And a lot of times they're not going to reach out to you. You got to reach out to them
Yeah.
a lot of times. So yeah, you have to be proactive and have your stuff together from A to Z when it comes to the trust stuff, the life insurance, to, you know, how you're filing your assets. All of that becomes a factor. Also, too, taking your income and putting it into other things too. You know, spread it out.
Diversifying.
Yeah, you gotta get diverse, especially because you're in the moment and you think none of this stuff is going to end. But if you make those right moves, and especially with athletes are the king of this. A lot of them just live in the moment, and they didn't do what Magic Johnson or Michael Jordan did, or Jamal Mashburn or Al Harrington. You know, these are all very prominent, successful businessmen. Ray Lewis, if we're going to talk about football, people that really thought ahead and had,
Yeah.
you know, and really, you know, because you just never know. Because one entity could just be like, this is dry. And then, you know, these other things are actually keeping you living.
So music, I guess, in a sense for you is because this is like a ministry for you to be able to pour into people,
100%.
and the legacy is the mission.
Yeah.
And building legacy beyond a boardroom takes these type of conversations to actually happen. And that's why it was so important, I believe, for us to just have these conversations. Because like you said, out of all of the music and conversations and the people passing, for me, I would sit there and I just would think in my head, like, I wonder if, which, you know, obviously from what was told in the media, Nipsey Hussle did a great job at actually creating the necessary vehicles that were needed to protect what the legacy was that he was building, which I
Yeah.
think he is a great example of that.
Yeah.
So that brings me to the point, like, you just don't produce music. You're a mentor and you build hubs. You shape
Yeah.
sound. What do you want your legacy to be when you're gone?
It's a good question. I want my legacy, I want there to be an educational empire, a hub that people can go to and get literally everything they need to have a legacy. Because there's no hub for anything.
Yeah.
The end goal is I would love to have a big headquarters, like 200 acres of land.
Sure.
And you go there and you can go sit down with CPAs and accountants that are seasoned in this particular business. You got one department for that. You have a lineage of attorneys that fit everything from IP connected to technology down to whatever. You can literally go in and out of that joint, and get everything you need to set your life up, from all the way down to the master class. Hey, you show up Monday through Wednesday, we got X amount of master classes teaching on music publishing, and then the next following week it's music production, and the next one it's screenwriting, and but not just the teaching of the education of it, but you can get all of the business side handled in one place, like kind of like what LeBron did, like how he has that school. I think it's in Cleveland somewhere. How he did that, something along those lines, but more so tailored to film, television. I'll even say the video game industry. You know, like just, you know, that's what I want to see. That 200, 300 acres, buildings. You go there, it's like a university, but on steroids, if that makes sense.
It does, because I mean, you even said that, and thinking about just streamers.
Yeah, big business.
Streamers, like, I know they're not even thinking about any of this right now, which is, and if they are, I haven't heard about it yet, but I don't see them talking about how they're protecting their legacy more than how they're just building their legacy, which is interesting. So what would you want the next generation of creatives to inherit from you? Not just as far as assets, but in wisdom.
I would say what I would want them to inherit from me is inherit the confidence to be a real owner and understand what that looks like. Another thing that I would love to be inherited is that I'm big on whatever you're pursuing, make sure that your actions are matching what you claim you're pursuing. That's a big deal. A lot of people don't make it in this business just on that alone. They think everything is easy because they're watching social media. I want people to adopt that. I also want people to adopt that this is called the music business or the film business or TV business, but you can't leave the business out and just do music and film and television all day. That just doesn't get you to where you need to be. So if I could wrap all three of them things in one package and say, hey, Jovan taught us X, and I was able to take that and turn the corner and approach things in a different way, that's what makes my heart good. When I get those I get those text messages, those are the comments that mean so much to me, because I know, okay, by me lending that information, or giving, I should say, that information, now it inspired them to go tackle things in a different kind of way, and be true owners. What I do like about this business now is that there is more access to information. There's still a big lack of education in general, but it's a million times better than when I came in. I'm 18 and a half years in now. So you didn't have all this stuff, all this access. Go ahead.
So so being 18 years in the business, what would you say your personal why behind caring so much about education and legacy at this stage in your career?
Because I'm big on the next I have kids, so I'm big on the next generation being better, right? Being more educated, more owners. We need to see more Tyler Perrys.
Sure.
People that have real ownership. Don't just be extra talented, right? We need more Dion. We need more Deons. We need more, we need more me. We need more of me,
And it's which is very interesting. And I'm actually going to talk about this video, which to me, it's mind blowing. Like, it's mind blowing. 2 days ago. And this is where I know that this conversations is so necessary. Dion, as you saw, I don't know if you saw, he was going into surgery, and he had like a cyst on his kidney, or
Deion Sanders.
Yeah, Deion Sanders had to get removed. I was watching Instagram clip, and he said, yesterday was rough and emotional for me because I had to write a will. And I stepped back and I said, what? Like, a will?
Right.
What do you mean you had to write a will?
And he's what, is he 60?
Yeah.
Or 62 or something like that? Something like that.
Yeah. I'm like, I don't like, and don't get me wrong, I praise him on all ends. And that just goes to show that the stuff that we're talking about, and even people like him, great father, man of God, successful businessman, successful athlete, like, he is, for us as Black men, like, he is the epitome of what we look at as a father figure. Like, even to the point where, and I was having this conversation even about when it came to him and his son, and him not being, son going 100 and whatever pick he went. And I was telling people, I said, man, you guys are missing this whole thing. Like, the part of the legacy that he did a very great job on is, regardless of if his son goes 199 or number one, as a father, he did his job to create the space where that number doesn't matter.
That's correct.
And he can just go out and play football.
That's right.
That's the legacy that we strive to, as fathers, to create for our children. But when I saw that video and he was saying I had to write a will, I was like, man, even when you think people have it all together, as you were talking about, there's such a small percentage of people, whether they're athletes. And that's the thing. And that's why I caution people when they watch this and they listen to this, don't think that you're going to do that, or you're going to wait till when you have $50 million in the bank Because if you're not doing it when you have $2 in the bank, you see people like Dion, like Aretha Franklin, like Michael Jackson, like who don't have that stuff put together with billions of dollars in the bank. So this is something where, and you were just, I mean, you really broke it down when it came to don't overlook this. And I think that every musician listening today, like you never know when the what if happens.
That's right.
And I would rather you leave your family with love and peace than fear and chaos, because you're not just leaving behind your music, you're leaving behind responsibility, and the responsibility of you to actually create the path and lay the foundation for who comes behind you to start to take those next steps. So
I agree.
Yeah, I think that this conversation today was great. I appreciate you. I really do. I think that this was really necessary. And if you, which I know, and this is just the raw conversations that I want to have with the men that do come on this conversation. I mean, on this platform. If you had to write your final verse to your family, to your kids, what would you say? If you had to write that today?
Write my final verse. Which metaphorically, or you mean like
metaphorically?
Okay, so meaning what does my setup look like that I've done set up for them? Okay, I got you.
I'm saying what is your final thought, final verse? It was a play on words, but the final thought that if your sons and your kids and your family sit in front of you and they have to read a letter that you wrote, and you have to write, and you had to leave that with them, what are like 3 important things where you want to just communicate to them as this is the final time you're inking this pen?
I would say that I've built you a legacy that you can carry. Me and your mother have built a spiritual foundation for you to follow and know God and understand that He's your only source and He's the source. And if you keep your eyes on Him, that you would end up spending eternity, with Him and also us, right? And that's number one. And then I also say too is carry the legacy and keep passing the information on to keep building the legacy. That's the short version of probably what I would say.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
No, thank you for that.
Yeah, no problem.
So thank you also for reminding us that musicians don't just make sounds; they do make legacies. Despite what we've heard and talked about throughout this episode, that every artist, every producer, every creative label listening, you don't get to choose the moment that your final verse is sung, but you get to choose who controls the encore.
That's right.
Don't wait for lawyers. Don't wait for labels. Don't wait for tragedy. And with leaving you guys with this, here's a few legacy prompts that I want you guys to reflect on, along with the information that we provided here. What part of your catalog is unprotected now? Who would your royalties go to if you were gone tomorrow?
Yep.
What instructions have you left behind, if any, about your music, your rights, and your wishes? This isn't just about contracts. It's about clarity. It's about courage. And it's about protecting what God gave you the same way He put it into you to create it. Where can people find you at? And where can people find out more about what it is that you're doing that are watching this?
Yes, absolutely. So a few ways. So my personal Instagram is at Jovan, JOVAN _drum_producer. I also own multiple studios out here in Los Angeles. My Instagram for that is at HMG_studios, or you can just go on Google and type in HMG Recording Studios. It'll pop up. I have podcast studios, film sound stages, editing bays, and music studios as well. Also, too, I teach. So for people that They can, even if you decide to DM me, my management will get to it. And if you want to inquire about doing master classes, I teach, traditionally I teach group classes twice a month. And then I also do private consulting classes where I educate, I teach music licensing, publishing, I teach distribution, film and television stuff, and I teach the deep crevices of that. I also help do, I call it entertainment planning, where I show you how to take your catalog, how you wrap it, how you do this, learning about SBLCs and how it pertains to, music, which that's not being taught publicly. I teach every aspect of that. My student range is actually very amazing because I have some students that are 100% rookie at it. I have some that are college students, and believe it or not, a lot of my students are artists and writers and people that I mentor them and I train them privately as well. So those are platforms that you can find me at. And yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you again. I appreciate you guys watching, learning, and connecting with us. I hope this helps artists. I hope this helps you start to think about the questions you need to ask yourself about the man you need to become and start preparing that foundation. Please share this with anyone that you feel would benefit from this information. And also, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Once again, my man, thank you. I appreciate it. And this is Legacy Talks, the man you must become. We'll see you guys next time.